Welcome, everyone. So happy to have you here this morning. I don't know how many of you were out late last night, but if you were and you're still here, thank you. Welcome to our third day of our 8th annual Radically Rural Summit. And can we just talk about yesterday for a second? Holy cow. Wow, that was amazing. I felt, for me, like one of the biggest takeaways was just like so much joy. It was like everywhere I went, joy was everywhere. And I was hoping that a few people could just shout out some things that they learned yesterday or words that described their day.
Socialism.
All right. Woo. Huh? Shared housing. Corn! Yes. Okay, you had to be there. Huh? Community. 2 more. What's a mutual bank? Yes. Got some sharing bonanza people in here. All right, 1 more. Civic health. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we started the day yesterday with moving together. So there was yoga, there was a run, there was a walk mural tour. Wow, words this morning. And then we kicked off with the plenary session here and learned all about building beloved community. We had amazing breakout sessions. I didn't want to leave mine that I went to in the morning. I was like, can we live here now? I love this. It was the one about ritual. A lot of folks gathered for lunch, more amazing sessions in the afternoon. And then the Connect event, which, how many of you went to that and how was it? Good? Yeah, I want to say a huge thank you to Megan and Lillian who organized that. I barely did a thing. They were on it. It was wonderful. I just got to show up and thank you so much. That was wonderful. And thank you, of course, to the artist who worked on the food stories and our amazing caterer who shared some of her own personal stories in the food and the stories of their catering team. So that was amazing. And then for those of you who took the next step, you came to Madame Cherie's with us for a amazing retelling of this zine here written by my friend Sarah Green from Kansas called Movable Monument, all about corn. And it was amazing. We laughed so hard. We danced. It was the best. I also didn't want to leave that. So yeah, and Sarah Green and the corn kernels. We've got at least 3 of the 4 corn kernels here in the audience. Okay. Enough about corn. So this morning, we've already had 2 sessions. We had one on resonant listening and one with a student who came here last year with the Springfield College students doing the pop-up play station. She came back doing her own session, making like a stamp to represent what you love and what you're leaning into this year. And that was a really wonderful exercise this morning. So thank you to all the folks who have done things to make this a great experience. So just so you know what to expect this morning, we've already done the welcome, and then we have some remarks from one of our summit level sponsors, the Colonial Theater, where we are right now. And then we have our Solution Slam, our Keynote panel with rural librarians, and then we will do a few brief announcements and announce the Solution Slam winner. So that is the agenda for today. And now, welcome to my friend and the executive director of this theater, Keith Marks.
Good morning, everybody. Whoa, hi. I'm going to use this one because I'm more of a wave than I am a dot. So welcome to the Colonial Theater. This space is 101 years old, 1924. It's a space open to a screening of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And here we are 101 years later. It's a big one. Whenever I have the opportunity to speak, it's always sort of like a zoom out about like what are we doing here and why are we doing it, and my life kind of parades right into what I want to talk about. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts recently about like what AI is going to mean for society and communities. And the thing that kind of keeps coming up more and more, nobody really knows where we're marching to, but the thing that is going to be increasingly in demand are authentic, analog, community, real experiences. And we're going to need spaces like theaters and libraries and third spaces to host those things, to bring people together. And I was with one of our community members yesterday, and I said something to the effect that rural communities, building community has been a noun for so long, and as technology expands and we are marching further away from it, we need to participate it more like a verb. And so we need to just bring people together to have authentic, genuine conversations about making sure that we strengthen that muscle of community building. And then the second thing that kind of I got a little meta about, and I've talked about it when we're in the Colonial and we're seeing shows together, but when people come together, it's like a battery. Like, so these last few days and what today is going to be for everybody is a sense of charging those batteries. And everybody gets to go home back to their communities with a full charge to bring that sort of energy and enthusiasm that you guys are building in here for the last couple days back home with you. And so for that, we're really, really excited to have Radically Rural here. I'm a longtime listener, first-time caller this year. So it's really amazing to be here and experience it and participate. I want to say thank you for being at the Colonial. Thank you for coming to Showroom. Thank you for coming to Keene, and thank you for having me. Have a good day.
All right. We are going to do the Solution Slam now. So I'm going to bring out Jody and Lillian to help me. Come on out. Okay, so for those of you who have been here for this before, you know the drill. How many of you, this is your first time attending? Oh, okay, we're gonna go over some things then. So you're
in for a treat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Such a robust morning. Yeah. Okay, so let us find our notes to explain this to you. So what happens in the slam is that we are having 12 people. Why are you looking at me like that? We are having 12 people give 1-minute pitches about an idea that they have or an initiative that already exists. And then at the end, there'll be a QR code and you can vote for your favorite one. And then they get $500, but it will be announced at the end to go toward their initiative. And so how we do this is Jody is going to be the timekeeper.
Yes, and I won last year, so $500 is a really nice thing to win.
Yes, thank you for
anybody who voted for me last year. So I'm excited to pass the crown to one of the lucky winners.
And what we noticed in the first year we did this is that when someone's standing up and speaking, they're oftentimes looking at the audience, so they can't see us for timekeeping. So what we do is when there's 10 seconds left, Jody will raise up both of her hands, showing 10, and count down. And then your job is to lift up your hands at the same time and count down so that they can see it. And my daughter, Drew Kate, will be running the mic around like normal. Woo-woo, woo-woo. Okay, I cannot wait to hear all of these pitches. Is there anything else? Oh, I wanted to thank Geyer and Son Roofing as well, who has provided the prize money. One of the cool things,
Yay.
One of the cool things is that last year, Gil came and talked a little bit about their Growth by Giving initiative. And it was essentially talking about how they think if every business gave, I forget the percentage, but a certain percent of their revenue, then nonprofits would not have a hard time raising the money that they need to raise. And so what they have done is they've grown this Growth by Giving initiative, and this year they actually had a Growth by Giving music festival and raised does anyone know how much? $10,000 for 6 nonprofits in the area. So just wanted to share, he wasn't able to be with us this morning, but I wanted to share that initiative that they have, which would have been a slam-worthy initiative, is doing great and growing. So, all right, anything else I need to say?
Is that a corn statue on your arm? That's why I was looking at you funny.
Corn.
I may
Corn.
or may not. Yes, Drew Kate?
Don't you make all those weird noises if someone's over the time limit?
Thank you for mentioning that, Drew Kate.
very
Excellent memory.
important.
Yeah, props to you. So what happens is if you go over your time, everyone is able to make the weirdest noises that they can make, and like we really do cut you off, so you gotta finish at 60 seconds. But there might be some weird noises coming out. Lillian is pointing out that I may or may not have a tattoo of the corn statue that is from the zine of my friend Sarah Green. It is temporary, you must know, but it was in her card to me, and I proudly wore it today. So. Okay,
You're
Lillian.
so corny.
I am. But it was a corn-tastic night, let me tell you. Okay, so Lillian, why don't you announce the first one?
Yeah, we're going to start with Angie Graves from New Hampshire.
All right, Angie. Where let me see this person. Oh, there she is. Should I officially give you a ready, set, go kind of thing? Are you ready?
Drew Kate's going to bring the mic.
Oh, good. The mic is coming behind you here. On your mark, get set, go.
All right, my name is Angie. I'm affiliated with the League of Conservation Voters. My hometown in Merrimack, New Hampshire has been a dumping ground for toxic PFOA chemicals for over 20 years, thanks to companies such as Saint-Gobain. My project utilizes native white rot fungi, such as oysters and turkey tails, to bioremediate the site, offering a community-driven, cost-effective solution that promotes sustainable use of our lands. Once remediation is complete, the project vision outlines plans to build a community solar farm to generate town revenue. My proposal was received by Town Hall this Monday, who plans to bring it before the state. Receiving money to support the project would help alleviate upfront costs and reliance on state and federal grants. My project aims to transform Merrimack's reputation as the epicenter of chemical contamination and transform it to a proud example of community resilience to be shared with others.
Wow, 10 seconds left. Good job.
Fantastic. All right, why don't you announce the next one, and while Drew Kate's running, we can comment.
Hannah Matangos from Pennsylvania.
All right, Hannah. Are you the one I borrowed the hairband from last night? Okay, I was going to return it, but thank you.
That's appreciated, but you're good.
All right, ready? And go.
So hi, I'm Hannah. Next year, my organization, Art of the Rural, is launching Wild Combination, a year-long rural-focused intercultural series of media projects and gatherings to connect artists, broadly defined, to vision an interdependent, collaborative, creative future across the country and the native nations sharing this geography. So our efforts are designed as a year of connected field scans, podcasts, articles, maps, regional and digital gatherings, and zines. And we'll close out the year with a multi-day gathering in Minnesota next fall. So based in Minnesota and Dakota homelands with offices in Kentucky and Pennsylvania, our 15-year history is centered on building trust and long-term relationships across regions and sectors. Next year, we really want to touch every state, every region, and share nuanced narratives of rural people and places and invigorate networks of institutional support in a time of precarity. So let's work together.
Woo! 4 seconds left. You guys are doing well. We want you to go over so we can make noise.
Right? You guys are on it. Amazing job.
All right. Sorry. There we go.
Oh, we got to push the X.
Thanks. I'm glad you know. I never tried myself.
All right, next we're going to Betsy Whaley from Kentucky.
All right, and while the mic moves, I just want to share a fun little tidbit. So in the app, there are people who are, putting out all sorts of threads about, hey, does anyone want to do this? Or do you want to meet up for lunch here? Something like that. And we actually had a pickleball situation happen. We had someone from Connecticut, Andrea, right? Yes, who was able to connect with a local pickleball player, and they got to play pickleball. So that was super fun. Yeah. Over 2 hours. Awesome. Anyway, fun fact for the... Did you play with Melissa? Yes, played with Melissa. Melissa is the pickleball queen. All right, we are ready.
All right, here we go. And start.
I'm Betsy Whaley from the Mountain Association. Eastern Kentucky has experienced decades of economic erosion due to outmigration, environmental degradation, and disinvestment following the collapse of the coal industry. In the last 5 years, there have been 21 flooding events in the region. Resilience is at an all-time low. The Mountain Association has created an intervention, Communities Accelerating Resilience in Eastern Kentucky, CARE-KY, that will support communities with coaching and resources as they organize, assess their community's resilience, prioritize needs, and engage residents in designing and executing a project to increase one aspect of their resilience. A catalytic grant will be provided to support the project. Following the project's completion, local teams will be supported in evaluation and planning next steps. Building community, building resilience, building hope.
1 second to spare.
1 second to spare. Y'all are on it this year. Go ahead.
Jess Limbert from Tennessee.
All right, and while the mic runs, I love already just the diversity of focus areas of these projects. Thank you so much, everyone, for bringing these ideas to us.
Good morning. Is my time start now, Jody?
You're ready?
Yeah.
Okay, and start.
Good morning. My name is Jess Limbert. I'm from Lewisburg, Tennessee, and I am not affiliated with any organization. I'm just affiliated with my community. Radically Rural on the Road came to Lewisburg this past summer, and as the culmination of that visit, we hosted a racial healing circle, which, as you can imagine, was very powerful, especially in a place like Tennessee. So I got texts for days after that event, people processing and exploring next steps. And so Jessica Radley, who is the visionary behind Juneteenth and Marshall, and I have come together to put together the Together Project, where we can bring folks, we can build multiracial coalition, bring folks together, read some books, have some conversations, tell the truth about our past, and reconcile for our future. That's the project.
Awesome.
12 seconds left.
So before we run to the next one, Jody and I were a part of that, and that was really such a gift to be able to be there for an intimate moment like that with your community. And I could see in real time the power of story. I could see in real time the power of sharing in things that are uncomfortable but are necessary in order to really truly heal. And thank you for bringing that up. Do you want to say anything about it?
I think one of the things that I got out of it, and we talked about this, Jess, is going to a place that's not generally on your radar. You know, as I learned, it's 40 minutes north of Huntsville and 40 minutes south of Nashville. And so it's the middle of someplace you probably wouldn't go in general. But it was such a great experience. We got to see the Henry Horton State Park, meet these people, and Jess did a great job of making us feel immersed in her rural community. So thank you very much.
Alrighty, next we're going to go to Eric Monson from Vermont.
All right, ready, Eric? Microphone's coming down. Come on down, Drew Kate.
The live stream folks will need it.
Okay, the live stream folks need it. Okay, we want their votes too.
All right, here we go. And start.
All right, how many folks in the room work for a university? I don't see a lot of hands. How would you like to double, triple, quadruple that number? My name is Eric Munson. I'm a professor of entrepreneurship at the University of Vermont. I'm also a member of an organization called USASP, which is a national entrepreneurship research and teaching organization. We meet annually in February, but I've started an annual research rural entrepreneurship conference. We met in Vermont last summer. We met in Iowa this summer. Next summer, we're meeting out at Colorado Mesa University. I want to take this $500 and make you a sponsor of that conference so the 50 people who come from around the country to our conference know about Radically Rural, come to it in the fall. I'll also pitch it at our annual meeting in Salt Lake City in February, where 500 people come from across the country. So that's what I want to do with the money, is get out the word about Radically Rural to entrepreneurial professors and staff members all across the world. Thank you.
Ooh, 5 seconds left.
We paid him to do that. No.
All right, Drew Kate, you're going to find Becky Beaton, also from New Hampshire.
Ooh, Becky.
Becky!
Coming.
Becky is the executive director of 100 Nights, our local shelter, and also a good friend. Thank you for being here, Becky.
I might have gotten slightly bullied into this, but it was a very friendly bullying.
I might give her a couple extra seconds because that's my husband's boss.
No nepotism, no extra seconds.
No, don't give me that.
Go ahead and start. Okay.
Housing is a basic
ready?
human right, not a commodity. So let's create housing that takes it out of the hands of investors and puts it into the hands of our underserved neighbors, creating generational wealth in the process. A model that has already proven successful in Oakland, California, uses cooperative ownership partnered with community investment. An idea for modeling this is taking vacant office buildings, generally undesirable and expensive to developers, designing shared spaces and private residences, garnering community funding investment into the projects through lending, and then having low buy-in costs for our underserved neighbors to become owners. Using democratic ownership models to maintain the property further builds community and resiliency among owners. These cooperatively owned residences now belong to the community, not private outside investors. A redistribution of wealth and a sense of place and ownership. And I kind of want to just keep talking so that we can hear the fun noises everybody's going to make.
Beep, 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 beep.
Nice, to the wire. Juliana, real quick, can you explain this? Maybe I missed it, but I don't know what this is over here.
Thank you for saying that. I was just going to say, I want to give a big shout out to our graphic recorder as well. Haley, thank you so much for what you're doing. This is incredible. We'd never done this before, and we weren't sure. We were back and forth, like, is it going to be distracting? Like, what is it going to be like? But I have found it just lovely and exciting, and so I'm really happy that she's doing it. Thank you, Haley.
She's just drawing on the fly.
Oh, yeah, I guess I never explained it. Yeah, so she's just listening and capturing with images. You can see, what did it say?
Where is she?
What did
Where
it
is this
say?
person?
She is
The
on
internet.
Zoom.
Oh,
she's on Zoom. Hi,
wherever
Haley.
you are. That's so cool. I think that's pretty interesting.
You can see the cob of corn in the bottom left corner. She's really capturing everything. Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Next one.
All right, now we have, I think, a returning solution slammer, Michael Goudry from Mississippi. Guidry. Thank you.
All right, ready and start.
My name is Michael Guidry. I'm a journalist at Mississippi Today. We're a digital nonprofit, digital first newsroom founded in 2016. My current role is editorial director of multimedia. 20 years ago, that meant getting people to go to websites where ad revenue was. Now my job's figuring out how to reach people who don't want to read 5,000 words on a website. A lot of that is vertical video, podcast, but there's a community getting forgotten and left behind. And if I'm going to be true to my multimedia title, I need to consider them. I'm talking about the generation reared on traditional print news. We're not reaching that community, and we're losing out on intergenerational engagement that used to happen around the kitchen table. My solution is a monthly print product that speaks to them, distributed through high schools, featuring a local high school newsroom, and a photo essay on a seasoned community veteran that will connect lasting community influence to information that shapes the community. Print isn't dead. It just takes a little more intentionality to meet those who need it.
Beep, beep. Amazing.
Nice.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Michael, and happy to have you back.
All right, up next is going to be Greg Nelson from New York.
Okay, and while she runs the mic, I think I did this last year and didn't realize how important it was that I did it until I did it, which was, can we talk about chickens momentarily? Is anyone curious about all the stuffed chickens everywhere? Okay, all right. So in 2019, our mascot of Radically Rural became Helen the chicken, who was a real live chicken, who is now dead. Rest in peace. But we still, Bill's dying. We still hold her memory dear. And so my chicken earrings yesterday, the stuffed chickens everywhere. There is a Keene Sentinel article that Radically Rural posted recently that you should check out from 2019, all about Helen, her personality, where she came from, everything.
If you want to see a picture of Helen sitting in this very theater, come find me. I got you.
But
Exactly.
don't be too chicken to ask.
Yeah. And apparently, when I was carrying, you know what? I'm going to finish the story after this because we've got to move. Yeah, I'll finish the story.
Yeah. All right, on to Greg.
And ready? Here we go. Start.
Okay, I'm Greg Nelson. Selective Salvage Solar is a project organized by Otherwise to bring the benefits of solar energy to families, farms, and tenants who may have thought this was only an option for wealthy homeowners. Every year, millions of solar panels are deemed obsolete and sent to landfills when in reality they still have decades of useful life in them. Working with solar installers, we're able to redirect these panels to build small systems that provide resilience, a way to power a community fridge, pump water, keep farm produce fresh, or create a charging station in a place without power or after a natural disaster. We have groups working in rural Vermont, upstate New York, and the outskirts of Boston, teaching people how to build and maintain these small, simple systems themselves. Selective Salvage Solar cuts two of the largest cost barriers in installing solar, the panels and the labor, such that a few $100s could sponsor the remaining components for multiple families who can then, in turn, teach each other how to build their own affordable systems.
Woo!
Second.
Nice
Down to
job.
the wire.
Nice job.
I love that. Okay, say the next name and then I'll finish my story.
Beth Draper.
Oh, it's not that far. Okay, well, we're going to finish it anyway. So I was running the 100 Nights race to raise money for 100 Nights shelter, and I ran with Helen the chicken. And Mark Bowden, the president of Savings Bank of Walpole, was like, oh, I knew Helen. And I was like, what? Why did I never know this? Tell me about Helen. He's like, I'll be honest. I'm from New York City. It was the first chicken I'd ever held. And he said, yeah, and she pooped on our conference room table. I was like, oh. So there are still people alive who knew Helen. Okay.
Well, since you ran the race with Helen, we now know why she crossed the road. Thank you. You're welcome.
I just want to say thanks for this opportunity.
I'm going to be booed out of here. It was good knowing you guys.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Wait, I just want to say gratitude for this moment, honestly. Like, thank you. I was hitting me on the way in today, and I just want to say thank you. So. All right. As fast as I can now.
All right, here we go.
Hi.
Start.
I'm Beth Draper, a wellness director passionate about bringing mental health solutions to our schools and communities. In the past decade, rates of student anxiety have doubled, and schools are being asked to do more without the support they need. I work in schools providing daily one-on-one mental health coaching for at-risk students who often struggle with homelessness, food insecurity, and invisible disabilities. In just 20 minutes each day, students learn to name feelings, recognize triggers, create coping strategies, and practice regulation skills. I've watched anxious, withdrawn kids re-engage with curiosity, self-confidence, and resilience. This 90-day program developed by Vermont nonprofit We Are Hope shows a 50% reduction in anxiety and proven gains in student well-being. It's not therapy, it's coaching, bridging the gap and removing barriers like cost, transportation, and stigma. I'm working to bring the model to more schools and community spaces because empowering kids to grow into compassionate adults, and that's a world we can thrive in. Thank you.
Now you can breathe.
Nice job, Beth. Drew Kate, let's ease up on the, yes, the aggressive.
Look at Helen up there.
Handoff.
It's a beautiful likeness.
I know, there's Helen. Hi, Helen.
So cute.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere, Drew Kate. The next person is Justin Berger, who was right where you were just standing.
Drew Kate.
She's getting her steps in.
She's burning those calories. All right, Justin. He's getting situated. All right, ready? Start.
Hi, everyone. I am Justin Berger, and I'd like to introduce you to Lulu's Brew, a coffee business that's brewing more than just great coffee. We are building Lulu's Brew from a repurposed shipping container in Westmoreland, New Hampshire, turning what was once industrial waste into a warm, welcoming, eco-friendly space that brings people together. But the real vision goes beyond the cup. After attending the Farm Bill session yesterday And remembering how integral the Farmers Union Cooperative was to the rural community that I grew up in, I realized that my wife and I are creating a multifunctional cooperative model to connect local farmers, artisans, builders, educators, and the service industry using the same container-based design. The multifunctional cooperative will help address 3 of rural America's biggest challenges: access to affordable childcare, access to affordable housing, and access to affordable, nutritious food. Each cooperative location becomes a catalyst, a small scalable anchor that fuels community, local business, and sustainable rural growth. Because when you start with local coffee and shared purpose, you can reimagine what's possible one container and one community at a time.
Yeah! Way to go, Justin. 2.5 seconds left.
And I love the connection with y'all too, because Yes, you too. Because like this is what happens in small towns, right? Jody invites me to a birthday party. I sit next to her. We start chatting, and now she's all in for everything radically rural. I'm like, yes.
We converted her.
Alrighty, Dawn Shelton from Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. No?
Oh, right behind you. Perfect.
Did you all coordinate this?
All right, ready?
Are we on? We are on. Hey,
And start.
radically rural road trip, come on.
Oh, okay. Well, send us an email.
Done.
radicallyrural@hannahgrimes.com.
Okay. Hi.
Ready?
Start again.
3, 2.
And give me a second. Start.
Hi, I'm Dawn Shelton. I do community journalism and cheerleading in Luther, Oklahoma on Route 66. So recently, we finally got our very own kitschy, nostalgic, beautiful roadside oddity in Luther with a big blue sign pointing to Main Street where all the businesses are. Phase 2 of the program, a wayfinding QR code that leads to visitlutheroK.com. Collaborative space pools all of our tiny marketing dollars so we can tell the stories of our town, our businesses, our people, our restaurants, our places to visit, our history, our shared community, in all walks of life, in all phases, loving rural America. And we're almost done. We'll have merch there, an interactive map, and to claim Luther's space on the Great American Road Trip.
Time's up.
Beep, 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 beep. All right.
Oh,
That was great. Thank
I
you.
have stickers.
It's harder than you would think, I think, to do this, right? It's like, I don't know, it can be intimidating, but you guys are rocking it. All right.
All right, for our final slammer, Forrest Hall.
Forrest Hall. Where's Forrest? Oh, there you are. Okay. So Tori is back up here. Thank you, Tori. And thank you, Drew Kate, for helping.
Ready?
I just finished writing this.
Start.
Awesome. As we have all heard at this conference, we're all part of meaningful communities and organizations that are doing incredible work but constantly need more support. That's why the most important investment and powerful investment we can make isn't just in projects, it's in people who dedicate their time and heart as volunteers. My name is Forrest Hall. I'm a Keene resident and president of the board of Freehaven Community Initiative, a holistic poverty eradication nonprofit in Zambia. Over the last 4 years, we've tripled our funding and impact by growing from 10 to 100 volunteers. That's the power of mobilizing people. To find volunteers, the ratio might be 10 posts for 1 volunteer, so post in hundreds of places, both online and in person. There are millions of people around the world who already believe in your cause. They have the time, the skills, and the passion. They just need to know you're looking for them. When you engage volunteers intentionally, your organization can achieve its mission in half the time, expanding programs, multiplying impact, and unlocking far greater funding. With the $500, I'll launch a framework here in Keene with a shared hub of resources so everyone can learn how to recruit, engage, and empower volunteers.
All right. Really excellent work, everyone. Now it's time to vote for your favorite solution. So you can scan that QR code, and we're going to let you do that while we transition our keynotes up here so that you can pay full attention to them once they get up here. So it should be pretty self-explanatory, but let Lillian know if you need help.
Yes, I will also be sending the link through the app, so if your QR code is not working, don't fear.
No fear. Okay. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Lillian. Thank you, all our slammers. Just one. I know, it's so hard to choose. Give you another minute. So Lily's going to send it out momentarily. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so while y'all finish up, I'll just give you a little background as to why we are talking about libraries today. Woo! So last year, during the Solution Slam, I think was it you that brought up libraries, Veronica? Yes, because you were a slammer last year, and I think you brought up libraries, and then I commented afterward, and I was like, we need to feature libraries next year, and a lot of people got really excited about that, and they emailed me, and we ended up just having this like really diverse group of people meet, like from different, from food security and from health and other places. It wasn't like, only people who work at libraries who were excited about this topic, and so it was really exciting to kind of hear all the different aspects of why people considered this rightfully a nexus of rural places and absolutely essential to our social infrastructure. So that's how all of this got started. And as we were talking about it, I was like, we need to give these people the stage. Like they need to be our keynote speakers because they oftentimes do not have the stage, but they are doing essential work in our communities. So that's how all of this came about. And speaking of librarians, they show up. Is Henry here this morning? Henry? Hey, Henry and Marty. Yeah, you all show up. You have volunteered and contributed, and Marty picked someone up from an airport and has hosted someone in her home. And I just feel like folks who are invested in those spaces are the types of people that show up and they meet needs. So how many of you here are associated with libraries in some aspect or another? Yay! Thank you for being here. Amazing. Is my kids librarian from Westmoreland here? No? Okay, I did invite her. But I know what a critical role the library plays in our community. Okay, now I'm gonna brag about our moderator just momentarily, and then she will introduce the rest of the keynote speakers. So Veronica is a Miss New Hampshire title holder, and she works at the Fitzwilliam Library, which is a small library around here. And I see some fans out there, totally appropriate. And she has just been a rock star because last year she came, participated in Radically Rural of her own volition, and I was like, we need to engage her. So she joined the planning team this year. And she is like not only doing the Miss New Hampshire stuff, she's in school currently, and she is also does a lot of like volunteering and events and advocacy, and like she still shows up, and I'm so grateful for you, and thank you for doing this, Veronica.
Thank you for having me and all of us, and thank you for being here. We're also excited to talk about libraries and what they mean to our rural communities. So, for as long as humans have written things down, we've created spaces to keep and share that knowledge. The earliest libraries in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Greece held clay tablets and scrolls, treasures of religion, law, and culture, but they were reserved for the powerful few. In medieval Europe, libraries were cloistered in monasteries. Access to knowledge was still a privilege. That began to change with the printing press, which made books more accessible and helped spark the idea that information should be shared, not hoarded. By the mid-1800s, the public library movement was taking root. Towns and cities in Britain and the US began to create tax-supported libraries open to everyone. And in many small towns, those buildings became symbols of civic pride and self-improvement. Over the 20th century, libraries evolved into true community hubs, places for children's story hours, adult education, meeting rooms, and democratic engagement. During World War II and the Cold War, they were celebrated as bulwarks of free speech and access to the truth. The arrival of computers and the internet didn't make libraries obsolete, it made them indispensable. They became technology access points, job search lifelines, makerspaces, and language learning centers. In rural and underserved areas especially, they became third places, or safe, neutral, free spaces outside of home and work. In recent years, libraries have found themselves on the front lines of some of our most pressing societal debates, from defending the right to read in the face of book bans, to stepping in as second responders during disasters, to helping communities combat disinformation in a noisy and divided digital age. Rural libraries are far from relics of a paper past. They are hubs for learning, technology, entrepreneurship, cultural preservation, and community connection. They are often the last remaining truly public commons in a community, places where anyone can walk in, be welcomed, and access resources without cost or condition. And they are adapting in ways that go far beyond books, stepping into roles as business incubators, cultural centers, and trusted guides through the fog of misinformation. My name is Veronica Sokol. I work at a small library in a nearby town, Fitzwilliam, and have seen the importance of libraries in rural communities. Today, we are joined by 3 visionary library leaders from across the country here to share their stories and impact. Starting off with Eliza Skenador, who is leading a tribal library that blends entrepreneurship, cultural preservation, and community well-being. And Christy Hagstrom, who is transforming her rural library from the quiet place to the place where things happen, serving an economically diverse population. And lastly, Lillian Newton, guiding her branch through the transition from rural life to the fast-approaching urban edge of Northern Virginia. Thank you all so much for being here. Together, we will explore how libraries are shaping and being shaped by their communities, how they're preparing for the future, and why their work matters now more than ever. And now I would love to hear a little bit more from each of you. If you could just introduce yourselves and share some of the incredibly valuable work that you're doing in your communities.
Sagoli everyone. Yunja des nolets niongets onyo deaga ni wagahogi talaro. My English name is Eliza. My Oneida name is Yunja des nolets. I'm from the Oneida Nation. We call ourselves Oniot Deaga. I'm part of the Wolf Clan. I have a small library of about 5,000 square feet and a branch library around 3,000 square feet that also doubles up as a tornado shelter for our mobile home.
My name is Christy Hagstrom, as said. I come from Ord, Nebraska. Nebraska, obviously right in the middle of the nation, and Ord is right in the middle of Nebraska. So we are right in the heart of everything. Our town's population is about a 2,400 service population, and we are a good hour away from any town, even the size of Keene. So it is necessary for us to be pretty self-sufficient in what we offer our community. We are definitely an agricultural community, therefore we do see the ups and downs of what a market can do to the economy. We have a fantastic hospital, wonderful school system, nationally known economic development department, and we all know that good things happen when we all work together, right? As far as the library's role in that community, when I first started, I had 0 experience in working in any library setting. I just took on the role and decided to treat it almost like a small business, with my goal being to get people in the door, and then we also have to get them to use our goods and services, and made it a very simple process. From there, we just had to decide that we're not going to just survive being a dusty library with books on the shelf. If we wanted to be a player in shaping our community, we knew that we had to be an active and willing participant.
Thank you, Christy.
Hello, I'm the other Lillian, which is rare. Usually there's only one of us floating around. My name is Lily Newton. I have been a public librarian for about 15 years, and most of my work has been in rural libraries in the area that I'm in. It's kind of the part of West Virginia, Western Maryland, and Northern Virginia that are all mushed together. And so, like I said, I've worked in both Northern Virginia and West Virginia. The area that I've worked in the most is about an hour and a half outside of DC. So it is the largest growing area of Northern Virginia and West Virginia. And then during COVID, when a lot of workers in DC were able to have more of a hybrid situation, we've seen an even bigger push out to the rural areas where I work. And so that's something that I've been doing for the last few years is working in a small rural library, very small town, but we're seeing a lot of development. And so as a public library, we're trying to balance continuing to serve an aging rural, traditionally agricultural population, but also balance that with a lot of people who are teleworking, commuting into DC, and there is a lot of development. You know, we're seeing a lot of farms going away and being turned into housing developments, and so we're kind of trying to figure out how to balance that, you know, not underserve the people who are already there, but then also accommodate the new people who are coming in, and how we can kind of build that community with both of those groups.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lillian. I love hearing about all of the work that you're doing in your very different, but in some ways similar rural communities. And I would love to hear a little bit about your work intersecting libraries and something else, be that entrepreneurship, cultural heritage, technology, community health. What's a project or program that you might have run or are working on that really shows the power of these intersections?
I can start.
Thank you.
Something that's like really shows the power of what we're working on is we started an entrepreneurship hub within our library space. So being a small library, it's very minimal, but we have a little section where we have a bulletin board where they can leave their business cards, flyers for services, such as like life coaching or Reiki and stuff like that. And then we also have a table in that area where I put out like flyers for services for building a business plan and so some of the resources that are local, like if we have a SCORE, it's a couple of towns over, but we have SCORE a couple of towns over, and then any type of like webinars that's for small business owners and stuff and entrepreneurs, and just kind of mixing both our culture with entrepreneurship. So a lot of people don't think of basket making or making beaded jewelry as entrepreneurship. It's just, you know, a hobby. But these are things that are running our community, ways that our families are putting meals on the table, and, you know, it might even just be extra monies for, you know, around the Christmas season and stuff too. But having that little entrepreneurship spirit within the library is something that's really powerful.
That's incredibly powerful. And I love that you mentioned the making of beaded jewelry, because I think you have some of your own handmade beaded jewelry on today. And it's so beautiful just to see that intersection that you mentioned. Thank you.
I will go next. I think I'm going to focus on our Makerspace program. We received COVID relief money in 2020, 2021-ish. To set up a makerspace in our library. And if you don't know what a makerspace is, it is literally, probably by definition, a place where you, a designated place where you can make things. It may or may not be technology driven, but for us, it meant purchasing a 3D printer, laminator, sublimation printer, button presses, sewing machine, industrial sewing machine. The sky was really the limit as far as what we could have put there. But this led to, ranchers making cattle tags with a 3D printer, 6th grade classes coming in, learning a little bit about the program, printing their own 3D mascot to take back to their rooms. Businesses will print logos. They might put it on the side of their vehicles. Our local softball moms popped in one day and made individual T-shirts to surprise their kids on Parents' Night. So it really allows for experimentation, creativity. It was never intended to take away from any local business. It was just created for our community to learn a little bit more about the technology that was out there and see what they could do with it.
Absolutely, and it's really powerful to see that ripple effect that that's had in your community. I love that you were able to provide so many specific examples of ways that this is making an impact. That's amazing.
Yeah, and where I've been working, like I said, because we have this kind of push outward into the rural community, one of the things we're dealing with is there is a technological gap. I'm sure many of you coming from rural areas maybe don't have the best internet at your house, or you do have internet, but it only works if the weather is nice. And so that's something in our area that we've been working on. During COVID, we were able to get all of our Wi-Fi signals boosted to go all the way out to the parking lot. And we kept that because we found so many people were coming. Like we had one person that she was teleworking and she needed to be able to get on calls at 4 a.m, but she didn't have good internet at her home. And so she would come and sit in our parking lot and do her Zoom calls, for people who were in other areas. We've also added different work pods and repurposed areas, because as we're seeing that, we're seeing more people who are coming in and using the library as kind of pop-up business. They're doing Zoom calls, they're connecting, and because maybe they don't have good internet access at home, they're coming to the library for that. And another thing that we did was mobile Wi-Fi hotspots, so that if you are having an internet outage, you can come to the library and check out a hotspot and take it back with you. Like I said, the other end of that, though, is that we are also trying to maintain our agricultural side. And so something that we do, we actually just did this at the end of the summer. In August, we had a program called Western Loudon Had a Farm, and we invited all of our different farmers, and it was amazing even to me. I mean, I grew up on a farm, and I feel like I know a lot about the farming community, but I didn't know we apparently have a family that is trying to work on hybridizing tea, because tea does not grow well in the eastern part of it. It gets too cold. And so they came. We have people who grow grain and mill their own flour. And so that was a way for us to connect people who have been moving into the community and are new with the people who are there, and have these small businesses, people who have goats and dairy farms and things like that. And so I think that's something that's been really important for us, is to invite the new people into the community, but to also introduce them to the local farmers, the people who are making a living off of the land, and so that they understand how important that community is.
Yeah, that is so important, and I can only imagine what that transition must be like, the urbanization of it all. But I really appreciate that you are blending the traditional with what is to come, and I'm sure that that's creating a really valuable and vibrant experience for your community. So I think we're going to take a little bit of a turn here and talk about some of the challenges and pressures, because, working in a library, we've all experienced some of those challenges, or at least heard of them. So libraries are being asked to do now more than ever. In the introduction, I cited a little bit about disaster response, but there's also overdose training, fighting disinformation, book bans, all while facing funding cuts, and in some cases, those book bans. So how do you balance these growing demands with the resources that you have?
Yeah, for a small tribal library, we have very limited staff. And then with us having 2 small libraries within our community and sharing 4 staff members, it can be a lot. And so we do a lot on partnerships and relationship building with other institutions in our community and outside of our community. So one thing is that we have a behavior health for our nation, and so sometimes they'll come in and bring in that trauma-informed care. We have a group that meets for women with domestic abuse, and my staff is not trained to deal with those types of situations. So it's nice when we can do partnerships with outside institutions. We have a partnership with UW-Madison where their students come to our tribal library and help us on digitalization projects, recataloging projects, and they're driving like 2 to 3 hours to get to us to help us. And so relationship building and partnerships are so important. Another group at UW-Madison is helping us with game design, and so we're looking at game design and teaching our youth and our elders on how to do game design and intersecting that with Oneida language. And so relationship building is so important when you work in a library because there's so many different services that we can offer our community, and making the library that center hub, it's the heart of our nation. So,
Thank you. That was so incredibly powerful. I think I just got chills.
As far as our little library, I haven't necessarily had to deal with a hardcore book ban or disinformation, but what we can talk about for us, what's important to us is funding, and I think all of you across the board understand how important funding is. When I first started, I think we were only receiving about 60% of our operational budget. The rest of the money had to come through levy overrides, which meant a taxation roller coaster for our patrons. Very hard to understand. However, we were passing those levies at a 90% rate, which is almost unheard of. So eventually, about 4 years ago, our county supervisors just decided to give us our 100% funding as far as our baseline budget, which was very critical to us. However, still not enough money to do all the fun things that we want to accomplish. And that's where it was very critical to reactivate our library foundation. Fundraising is such a crucial part of all that we accomplish. The second thing, if I can get my phone to reopen, I'd be happy to tell you what that is. Workforce is huge also in our small communities. Personally, I am very, very fortunate to work with an amazing group, and we have all that we need. However, that isn't always the case. We all get stretched very, very thin with all of our roles. I am the only one that works full-time. The rest of them, I like to say, have real jobs somewhere else, and they come to us in a part-time status. Workforce is critical, and those people that are willing to do the dual roles to make all that we do make it happen. But everything is always then a compromise, and you'll find out that at the end of the day, something's got to give.
Absolutely, and I feel like that workforce and the staffing issue is something that I've seen and heard about from a lot of rural libraries, and I'm wondering, and I mean anyone, please feel free to answer this one, if there are any incentives that we could give to people who are maybe thinking about entering the library workforce or even trying to inspire more younger people to get into the library workforce because it is so important, especially in these rural communities.
Well, I will say, and this is just speaking on a personal level, this has been something for me a lot of times due to policies, and it's kind of set up by, there's rules in every state, so this is something we can look at a policy and legislative level, but a lot of times you have to have a master's degree to have a librarian position. And that is important to have the education. I have a master's in library science, so it's hard for me to say that's not important. However, it is a huge roadblock. Graduate school it's very hard to get funding for that. Student loans are expensive. They're getting harder to pay off for a lot of people. And so it really is a place of privilege to be able to go to school to get a master's degree. And so that is something I think that as a library system we need to look at. Where I work, we're very lucky that there are other ways to get into the library system. You can have library assistants, people in circulation who don't necessarily have to have that degree. But in order to be a capital L librarian or a supervisor, a lot of times you do have to have that degree. So I think a lot of libraries, if you are maybe there are some models, Maryland, where I am, I don't work in Maryland, but Maryland, a lot of times they'll post it as either or. So if you have a degree, you get a little bit more money, but if you don't have the degree, but you have experience, you can move into those positions. So it's not an easy answer, but again, I think it also comes down to funding, because even if you have people with these degrees and you're not offering a living wage, that's very hard, to entice somebody. I've worked in systems, a lot of times your funding is connected, like in West Virginia, your federal and state funding is matched to your local funding. So I worked in a system where our funding, we got a 15% cut from our county, which means we also lost 15% from the state. And so everybody's time was cut, and everybody was working 27 hours a week. We didn't have health insurance. So that's really important. A lot of people can't work in that situation. If you don't have a second income or somebody else in your family who you can be on their health insurance. So I think it really is, as you were saying, like if you are a voter and you're seeing these levies come up, or I know that's we have to think about that. Like, how are we gonna, if we want to provide these services, if you want the library to be there as a space, because like you said, in emergencies, a lot of librarians have Narcan training. A lot of libraries are cooling centers in the summer. They're warm places to be in the winter. So I think we all have to think about that. Is how important is that to you to continue having that in your community?
Absolutely. And I feel like these conversations, have even opened my own eyes further so far to the role that libraries really have as that central hub. And it is so important to consider. And you did mention a little bit sort of the future of what this might look like, future with funding, future of libraries. So my next question would be, if we looked ahead 10 or 20 years, what do you imagine a rural library could be? And it could be your library, it could be a library nearby you in your community, but what does that look like to you?
For me and our community, I feel like we're kind of re-imaging what literacy means to us. So we are looking at literacy as more of learning from the stars, our land, gardening, our art, and really reconnecting it to our culture. So in about 10, 20 years, a lot of like the services that we might offer at the library might be changing. Whether, like we're doing game design. I mean, that's like libraries, yeah. And, just looking at the digital world side of things, like with the 3D printers and stuff like that, and how we can put that into library programming, but also still keeping that storytelling, especially since like being in a tribal community, oral stories are so important. So what are ways that we can incorporate that into our library programming? Because in certain, because in many tribal nations, our oral stories aren't to be recorded or written down. And so, re-looking at that and reopening our eyes, or what can be recorded, what can be written down, and just kind of really, making sure that the library still is that place where any generation will feel welcome, anyone inside or outside the community will feel welcome, and especially with a tribal library, bringing our families home and having a place for them to go to feel welcome right away when they visit a community.
That's awesome. Lily, I'm going to pass to you because I'd like to answer that one last, if I may.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like it's funny because I kind of wrote my answer down, and then having been to a lot of these sessions, I feel like all of the threads are kind of connecting. Because for me, libraries are places of information. And I think a lot of people think books, which of course that is our bread and butter. Of course we love books. We're never getting away from books, but information doesn't necessarily have to be in a book. And one of the things we're experimenting with in my area are what we call a library of things. And so that can be things like checking out a sewing machine, the Wi-Fi hotspots, obviously, but we also offer state park passes, so you can come get a pass and it gives you free access to any of the state parks for a week. And I think that, like we've all said, the library is the community hub as a place of learning, as a place to gather information. That doesn't necessarily have to be in the traditional sense. So one of the things we're working on is, the environment is very important. We are dealing, a lot of people have been talking about the changing environment. So one of the things that I was working on was kits so that people could weatherize their home. And so it would be certain things that you would use yourself, but we also have things like thermal cameras that you hook up to your phone and you can go around your house and see, is there, do you have leaks in your windows? And so that's something we've been developing. So part of the kit is things that you return to the library, like the thermal camera, but part of it is things like, stuff you can put around your windows to weatherize them. And I think in 10 or 20 years, the library can continue to grow as that community hub. There are libraries across the country that are renting out gardening tools and things that and I think we really need to rely on that, because as the prices of things go up, as people are struggling to find ways to pay for things, I think if we come together as a community and have those library of things, that's going to take some of the pressure off of each individual to go out and purchase something that maybe you would only use one or two times. But I think that leaning into that library as kind of a hub of the community and the village and supporting each other is really important. And I think that we're starting to see that, and I think that's something we can really lean into.
Definitely. And it's an important thing to educate people about, because I feel like these libraries of things are popping up more and more in rural communities, and they really are such useful tools.
When I looked at this question, I kind of think of adaptability. Like, picture the most adaptable place you can ever envision, and then that's what your library needs to be. But I asked to be last on this question because, to me, it's not a question that librarians should answer. It should be a question that your community answers. We should ask our community what their needs are, and then the library responds to those needs.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, we are all integral parts of our communities, and we are nothing without those communities that we build and those communities that support us. And, there are a lot of misconceptions, I think, especially I've seen among young people who might not realize or recognize all that libraries offer. And we've shared so many valuable messages here today about what you are bringing to your communities. And I guess, we have such a wonderful audience out here today. If there's one thing that you wish the public might know, or policymakers might know about the work that you do and the role that you and your library bring to your communities, what would it be?
I'll start. I feel like libraries aren't just a place of education, which is something that a lot of people think is just books and learning, but we're also a place of healing and belonging. Our visitors are looking for hope, culture, or even just someone to listen to them. And so we really hold that space for people to learn, grieve, grow. As a tribal library, we're also a place to preserve our language, our stories, and identity through different library programs, which is really powerful. One day you might step in our library and we're making black ash baskets, or we're sewing ribbon skirts, or we're log pounding outside. So the library is always changing, always growing, and we're there to connect with our culture and really invest in our people, in our community.
Okay, I'm about to get on a soapbox, so if you're ready. I'm going to say that if you want to get something done in your community, you want it done efficiently, you want it done on time, you want it done under budget, you want it thoroughly researched, you want a broad perspective, then there needs to be a librarian on your team. By trade, we are creative, we are innovative, and we are very, very frugal. I think, that being said, librarians belong at the table.
When we opened this morning, I heard the term third space being used. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. I have children in their 20s, so I hear it a lot. That's a big complaint of them. So if you're not familiar with the term, third space refers to something other than your home or work/school. It's community gathering spaces. So things like coffee shops, parks, community centers. One of the things that I've heard a lot recently is that libraries are one of the few third spaces where you can just exist for free. You don't have to buy anything. Yeah, you don't have to subscribe. And that's something that's really important. It's important for all ages. As librarians, we try to fill gaps in our community needs, and that might be, during COVID, kids weren't going to preschool, and so we started offering pre-K skill building classes so kids could come in and learn how to use scissors and learn the basics of preschool that they didn't get during COVID. Sometimes that's, in West Virginia, especially, and in rural communities, we have a big aging population. So my friend Dina, who's here, love you, Dina, she and I actually started a memory cafe initiative in our county where we went out to senior centers and did activities that help with aging minds and memories and things, using music and art to stimulate that. But as we've said, if you want those services in your community, we need to have the people to do it. We need to have the resources to go out into the community and provide that. So for me, I always want something actionable, right? Like I can sit here and say, libraries are important to me, but what do we do about that? And I feel like in the current political climate, it's just like a fire hose, right? All this stuff is coming up and it's hard to tell what's important. So 2 things, if I could.
Absolutely.
IMLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, it sounds, if you hear, institute and grants, it sounds very high-end academia, but in a lot of rural communities, IMLS funds a huge amount of public library budgets, especially in West Virginia. If IMLS funding goes away, that's more than half of their budget. Some places it's 80 to 90% of their budget. And that is something that's been brought up multiple times. It's kind of like public radio, public TV. It is something that is actively being defunded. The other thing is E-rate. Some of you may have heard about E-rate. That's another thing that is in legislature right now. People are trying to get rid of E-rate. E-rate is a grant system that covers, in West Virginia, 80% of the cost of internet for public libraries and public schools. So if E-rate goes away, your public library and your public schools are going to have to figure out how to pay for internet access. So again, if those are things that are important to you, if you see it on a national level and you have the ability to write or show support for those things, those are things that are very important for libraries. But the other thing we need to think about is, what if they do go away? What is your contingency plan in your community? Are you going to pass levies? are you going to reach out to local businesses? Because there's going to be a big funding gap if that stuff goes away. So, like I said, that's my soapbox, is if you notice these things, please, if you care about those resources that your public library gives you, please support those when they come up in your legislature.
Absolutely. And I think that sums it all up, the importance of the funding, the importance of the workforce and that incentive, but above all, the importance of community involvement and engagement, because libraries are community-funded spaces and community-inhabited spaces, and they can only serve those communities if those communities are involved with them. So this entire summit this year, it's all about rural resonance, and we've touched upon so many points of why libraries are that nexus. But why does what the public engages with about libraries, why does what people know about libraries, why does that matter for the future of rural communities as they look today, as they might look tomorrow? It's a really changing landscape.
I think it's really easy for all of us when we have something that we want to get done, or we have a project, whatever it may be in our own communities. It's really easy to get caught up in our own vision or what's in it for us. I think as far as libraries are concerned, we offer a broader perspective, and we kind of see everything. Everything comes in our doors, and our doors are always open to you. And it gives you an opportunity just to create the community that you want to be a part of. Communities that take care of their libraries send a pretty clear message that you care about education, and you care about your children, and you care about your future.
Yeah, and I know I said it before, but again, libraries are information hubs, and I think working in public libraries, a lot of times we're not the experts, but we know how to find the information. That's what we're the experts in, is finding you the information. And so many times, just on a daily basis, people come into the library because they're maybe on the verge of being homeless, or maybe they've lost a job, or whatever it might be that's going on in their lives. They're teenagers taking a driver's test and they want to know, and libraries can be the place that connects that information. And we do a lot of work with community spaces, like we were talking about we are the ones that are bringing in resources from outside, but then also when somebody comes in, and says, I have severe dyslexia, and I really want to read, but I can't. We can say, well, you know what? Here, let me show you how to hook up Libby or Hoopla. Or did you know that the National Books for the Blind program is not just for visually impaired people? It's for people who have severe learning disabilities and they can't read a physical book. Let me connect you with how to sign up for the Books for the Blind program. And so I think that is something that's really, like I said, that's important, is to remember that, like you said, if you want something done efficiently and you want the good information and good answers, your library people are where to go for that. Because, yeah, we are not just the books and things like that, but we also kind of know who's in our community, what resources there are, and we can connect you to them. And I guarantee you, they love it. My favorite thing as a librarian is somebody to come in and say, I have a weird question. And I'm like, hit me. Bring it on. Do it. So I would challenge all of you.
Questions.
Yeah, I would challenge all of you. Go to your local library and tell them you have a weird question, and just see them like their face light up.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorites too. Is just like, I don't know, but let's find out together. And so like even we get a lot of elders in our community, and they just call in. And so we have a lot of reference and questions and stuff. And because they can't make it to the library,
we're printing articles offline and making sure that they get the resources that they need to help answer their questions. And so we have certain patrons in our community that we have their address memorized and we have their phone number memorized. I'm like, oh, look who's calling. And so we're ready. We got the tabs open and we're ready to do that research for our community, and even having people from our health field reach out to us and, hey, we are researching this, can you help us? And so even people that are in our local health center is reaching out to the library and looking for resources to either pass on to their patrons and community members that serve them. And so the library is not just for, the open community, but our working individuals too, and our professionals in our community also.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, all of you, for your time today. Hearing these stories, it's so clear that rural libraries are not just keeping pace with change, they are driving it. They are equipping people with the skills, the confidence, and the connections to thrive. They are safeguarding culture, truth, and community, and they are doing it in ways that are varied and creative as the communities that they serve. If there's one takeaway today, it's this. Libraries are not just nice to have, they are essential infrastructure for democracy, resilience, and opportunity, especially in rural America. They remind us that access to knowledge is a right, not a privilege, and that the public commons is worth protecting. So next time you walk into your local library, we hope you see more than books. You're looking at one of the most important nexus points of your community and its future. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all so much. I am like buzzing from that. That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So I'm going to make a few comments and then we will release you for the day. Now, I did invite the corn kernels from last night to come up and help me with these announcements. I think they corned out a little too hard last night. We only have one willing to come up to the stage. So Nick, can you make your way up? And Ash, I'm wondering if you can serve as an honorary corn kernel member since you were there last night. Oh yeah, come on up. You're gonna help me with some announcements. And was anyone else there? You come too. Hannah, yes, come on. Okay, so we're just waiting momentarily for everyone to come up to the stage. How you feeling today, Nick?
The coffee was good. Just say that.
How are you feeling, Ash? How are you feeling, Hannah?
A really fun joke to bring the late night crew up for the early morning session.
Yeah, right.
I'm energized.
Okay, we've got someone energized up here. Excellent. So the first announcement is in my handwriting, if you can read it.
All right, so first up, it is almost time to eat lunch soon-ish, in a few hours. Anyway, check. So sorry, I corned out. Check lunch groups in the Whova app. There's different lunches happening, and you can sign up and see where folks are going.
Yeah, and then you can do, no, I'll do this one. Okay, I encourage everyone to attend the closing session at 4, right here in the theater. This is where the Resonance Network is kind of going to bring us home and weave together all the themes we have explored together this week. And I know that it's really tempting to just like jet off, and I know that sometimes that has to be done, but also I think it's one of the sessions that really helps people leave feeling like they have sort of taken that moment to pause and let it set in with them, and it can make a really big difference in how we move forward. Okay, Ash, this one's you.
And then once you've had a chance to pause and let it sink in, then it's time to party again. Who's planning on going to the after party tonight? Oh, look at all you people ready to corn out. Don't forget, the Radically Rural after party starts at 7 p.m. Where's that at again? Brewbakers, at Brewbakers, great space. Do plan on eating before you come or bring takeout to eat there. There will not be food provided, but there will be beverages available for you to purchase. Enjoy.
Nick?
Okay.
You can expand on that if you want.
Okay. Turn in your lanyards before you leave. We like to recycle around here.
Okay, you know what? I had written down Ash, but I'm going to give this one to Hannah. Do you want to announce the slam winner? Sure. All right, come on.
All right, our slam winner is Angie Graves. We have a check for you to come receive.
All right. And Andy, when you get up here, if you could just give us a one sentence on the project, that would be amazing. And we'll just all watch you walk all the way over to that door. But just in case people forgot, since you were the first one to pitch, when you get up here, just one sentence. You might have to go that way. I know. I know. We got some wayfinders there. There you go. Come on up. Angie, everybody. All right, you can hand it to her. All right, you want to give one sentence about your project, what it is, in case people forgot?
Sure. Well, thank you guys so much. This is an incredible opportunity, but for a reminder, my project was centered on using fungi for bioremediation to clean up the PFOA contamination site from St. Gobain in Merrimack, New Hampshire.
All right, Nick, bring us home or send us out or whatever. Come here.
Do what now?
This one.
Oh. Listen. Embrace this day to its fullest. And I would hope to see you at the finale at 4 p.m., but I'm going to be at the airport. So, because I got to get home to Kansas, but it's good to meet many of you, all of you. I'll be back next year.
High five, everybody. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.